Start, yeah? Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a short talk on, well, Daoist, what we call Daoist yoga. It's not yoga from India, but we call the term yoga in the West. So we often call it Daoist yoga, but Daoist practices for cultivating the energy of the three centers, the three kumbhas we call it in yoga, or three tantians in Chinese for Taoism, meaning the pelvis area, abdomen, pelvis, the chest, and the head. So we're going to talk a bit about, uh, well, these practices in the context of a 2-day training that I'm giving in Brazil and Europe and the US. And this training came about by requests from the people who are in the Tao Te Ching, which is a text of classical Taoism, the Tao Te Ching meditation group. We have an online course of 17 classes where we meet and go through many of the chapters of the Tao Te Ching using a commentary and a translation that was developed by one of my Taoist teachers, Lu Ming. And in that group, it's often understood that with Taoist direct practice of non-conceptual meditation, it pairs really well with energy cultivation exercises of the body, breath, and movement visualization. In Chinese, those practices are called Qigong, Jindan, Neidan, Neigong, and in general, in an English way of doing it in English language, we just call it all Taoist yoga. Okay, so the practices we'll be teaching on this weekend are those that cleanse, generate, and circulate and harmonize the vital energies of the human being through these three centers that we just named, or told you location of in the body, the belly, chest, and the head. These three centers are placeholders or symbols of three different types of energy available to a human being. And these three types of energy are said to be what make us whole. So it's like a physical vitality energy, then a mental, emotional, spiritual kind of energy, and then the highest kind of energy, pure spirit radiant energy. So whether you're sitting every day for non-conceptual meditation in the Taoist way, or a tantric way, if you're a tantric Buddhist or a Shaivist or a TMY student or something, or just a person who wants to learn a moving way to meditate, which cultivates energy, then these kind of practices are very good for that. Let me go through the practices one by one and we can see what they will do for you and what they're about. The first one I'm going to teach is called spitting toxins. And it's a very simple practice. It's a way of moving the body with the hands and rising from a standing position down and so forth into a type of squat, and using the hands and the breath and the visualization to conduct the negative energies out of the body. Purely shamanistic, getting that exorcistic, conducting the negative energies out of the body. We should say this within the context of all of these Taoist practices assume, and some act it out, that you have a connection to heaven and earth already, a deep connection to heaven and earth. So, for example, just to preamble this, when I teach swimming dragon Qigong, which I studied one-on-one with another Taoist master in upstate New York at his farm, a Chinese man, a lineage holder of swimming dragon, the very first day that he taught me, he founded it all on a deep connection to heaven and earth and a deep inner radiance of soft, tranquil joy. So he put me in his barn and he had me stand in a certain way and breathe a certain way and hold my eyes in a certain way. And then he kept coming back to check me over the next hour. And I didn't move for that hour as I tried to evoke from within me that state he was looking for. And I would think I had it, and then he would come back in the room, into the barn, and look at me and then just walk right out again. I guess I don't have it yet, you know. because he said we'll start the teaching of the movements and things after you have this. This is the first step of swimming dragon. It's called standing dragon. Swimming dragon has many different aspects of it, all ending with dragon. So standing dragon, swimming dragon, soaring dragon feeds on chi, seated dragon. Okay. So I was doing the standing dragon first. And it's kind of simple and complex at the same time. So when when that connection was made and he was satisfied I had that connection, then he carried on teaching me. After that first lesson, I remember him telling me that some people come for a month before he teaches them anything. They have to stand like that for an hour for a month before they really develop this ability to connect. So everything I'm teaching on this weekend is going to be built upon your ability to connect, to plug in to above you, which is considered to be, the heavens, and below you, the earth, to draw up that energy and draw down that energy and mix it within yourself. So anyway, spitting toxins built upon that says, okay, we're connected to all the good energies of earth and heaven now. Now we'll spit out these negative energies. And then the next one is bone marrow washing, which I found really profound. Again, these are very simple, but wow, they're so profound. They work very well and they're very simple. I love, so this is great. But again, it's all predicated on what I just spent 5 minutes describing, which is, are you plugged in to heaven and earth first? If you're plugged into heaven and earth, then these are going to work. If you're not plugged in, they're kind of like just fantasy visualizations and they don't really work. I mean, you get relaxed, but they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. So bone marrow washing is a way that we understand ourselves as a projection of our ancestors. And that our ancestors' energy is most aptly or powerfully stored in the center of our bones, in the bone marrow. Now, from the ancient view in Daoist medicine and Ayurveda, inside your skull, because this is bone, right? Inside is considered marrow. It's inside the skull. So they considered the brain to be bone marrow. In other words, inside the bones. And that just goes to show that there's a sense of consciousness and vital energy that we got from our ancestors when we were initiated as a sperm and an ovum. When our mom and dad made love and boom, the spark came. We came in a certain amount of energy from heaven and earth, from our ancestors and from our environment, boom, to create us. So the bone spitting toxins a little bit, but the bone marrow a lot connects to that primordial energy that started off our whole life, dividing cells, become a plate with a groove, and then, spinal channel and all the rest of it. And then we became a little embryo fetus and born, boom, here we are. So bone marrow cleansing is going back to that primordial energy, primordial chi energy, and learning how to connect to it with your consciousness and with your hands to move the negativities or the limitations out of that level of energy in the body, out of the bone marrow. It's really great because it's very soft and simple to do. It doesn't take great strength or anything. So anybody can do that one, and the spitting toxins. As long as you can sit in a chair, from standing to a chair, you can do spitting toxins. As long as you can stand up and raise your arms over your head and bring your hands down, you can do bone marrow cleansing. Very powerful. There's also a way of cultivating the energy that we want to have that will help a lot with our meditation. These help a lot, of course, giving us the clarity for the meditation and the health to sit properly for our non-conceptual meditation of Dao De Jing, called Suo Wang. The other thing is to accumulate a type of energy. Now, there's, in Chinese and Indian tantric understanding, we have hundreds of different types of energy. I mean, literally in our body, the way I was taught, we have 45 pranas, 45 different pranas in the body. Then if you develop yourself more, you pick up 5 more wisdom energies. That's 50. Then you pick up, so there's all these different types of energies. Some are more physically oriented. Some are more lofty, refined, subtle energies, spiritual oriented. Some are natural energies. Some are based on virtues and so on. So when you're doing your meditation, you want to accumulate chi, but you want to accumulate a really balanced type of yin and yang chi, represented by the Taiji diagram, the two circles going around. Yeah. Black and white thing from Central Asia that the Daoists loved and adopted as a symbol of their system. So the standing postures of Wang Shangjai are really great for accumulating this special type of soft yin energy that we really want. Yin and yang is pretty balanced, but it's a very refined and soft energy. So I'm going to teach you how to stand in 4 or 5 different positions and how to breathe in those positions. You just stand and you breathe. It's another form of meditation. So when we were doing the Tao Te Ching meditation, we're all sitting there and we spent the first day or two talking about the proper seated posture for that meditation. Because in the end, we said, this is a body entry point meditation. If you simply hold the right posture, that's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything with your mind. Your mind will settle out over time. Like if I take dirt from my backyard, put it in a jar with water, screw the top on, and shake it like a clay test for the dirt and set it down, it's all muddy and dirty. I come back 3 days later, it's crystal clear and all the sediment has gone to the bottom and is stratified, right? In the same way, when we practice the non-conceptual meditation of Taoism called Suo Wang, sitting forgetting or sit forget, it's that we're already the shaken up jar of mud and we're going to just sit. So if we have the proper sitting posture and it's not disturbed, everything will settle out and the clarity will come. Now, what helps the clarity come are energetic movements. They're additional supports. They don't replace the meditation. But if you can move in the swimming dragon, soaring dragon feeds on qi, bone marrow cleansing, wu mei qi gong, all these different ways of moving and breathing that harmonize the energy of these 3 centers, the one below as well, then your meditation will be that much clearer. So it's like crutches, just to get good at the clarity of the channels and the meditation so that the meditation can come to fruition, right? Faster. If you're not in a rush, you don't need this. But of course, it helps your health. I mean, side effect of swimming dragon qigong and standing postures is like radiant health, longevity, that kind of thing. So there's no reason that you want to, it's like one of my teachers said once when we were talking about an energy practice that's core to tantric yoga, he said, the only reason you wouldn't want to do this every day is that you want to die early. Right. So I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to do this practice every single day. Then I have done every day of my life since then. And this goes to me with swimming dragon and the standing postures of Wang Shangjai that we're going to be teaching on this 2-day training in Brazil, Europe, and America to help support your Tao Te Ching. It also, of course, has relevancy for people in the healing arts and relevancy for people who are really cultivating their own health. But here I'm talking about why it's so important and powerful in a way of helping you with your non-conceptual meditation, your Tuo Wang. Because the different standing postures that you do, holding and breathing and Wang Shangjai postures, develop a certain type of energy that's cultivated in the seated practice as well. It is a meditation. You are standing and you're not moving, you're breathing, but your hands are held in specific positions. In the beginning, your body will find that tiring, but over time, you'll find that a different kind of energy takes over and you don't find it tiring. And that's a good sign. That will help the meditation as well, the seated meditation, because at that point, they're kind of becoming equal, standing meditation and the seated. So I'm going to teach you those energy accumulation meditation postures of this famous master, Wang Xiangjai was his name. He was a famous martial art master who was a very great fighter and it started to make more and more sense to him to condense, edit, and refine down to just standing, just standing, not even doing the movements and the punches and the kicks and everything. When someone attacks you, having the spontaneous energy reaction meet the attack. It was quite interesting revelation for martial arts. It was a very high level thing. Not many people can do it, as you can imagine. But what we got from it was his training system, which is extremely valuable for meditators. So there you go. So we're going to use that. The swimming dragon is the last thing I want to discuss before we have open question and answer about this. And we may not have any, but if we do, I'm happy to sit for the full hour and answer questions about it. The swimming dragon is very dear to my heart. Let me start off with that. As I was deciding whether I was going to teach anything Taoist at all ever in my career this year, because before I taught Taoist Kung Fu, that's different. But now, what am I going to teach? Am I going to teach the Taoist path of realization? That's different. And I know that path, but I never taught it. And I had great instruction from great masters on it, but I never taught it. So I thought, okay, this year we have to figure it out. So I went online and looked at just teaching maybe the Qigong, the supportive practices like Swimming Dragon. I went online to see who was teaching Swimming Dragon. And I can't name any names, thank goodness, because I can't remember from the videos. But it was rubbish. It was pure and simple rubbish I saw. Just rubbish compared to the real thing. And I realized there's no way that these people learned this from a master. They got it from videos and books for sure. And they're faking it. Even a guy who runs a big Taoist school in the Northwest of America, a big school with a real like location that they go to with a temple and the students are training. Absolute rubbish. And I mean this in a way that when you watch how they move, it contradicts the purpose of the practice. So you know it's done incorrectly. And it's breaking the lineage of the swimming dragon teachings, which came from Tikeshi's family, my master's family, a really long time ago. And I'm so grateful to have learned it from Tokushi. He was such an amazing master, and from his family directly, because I know I got it in the proper form. And I know by training with him long enough that he was very happy with how I was doing it and told me I can teach. So when I saw this online, I went and checked a few other things, some martial arts and this and that. And I thought, and I checked non-conceptual meditation instructions. I kept going. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to teach. This is how it happens. I'm going to teach because it's just rubbish out there. Just Taoism is ruined today. So I said, okay, I'm going to teach it. So here we are. So in this 2-day training, the most complex by far teachings that you'll get on this one are the swimming dragon. So the focus is swimming dragon. And what I love about the swimming dragon is that it has a way of combining in one system everything you need in energy practice. It's like a complete system of yoga in a few movements. The Taoists were really good at this, at condensing massive yoga systems down to like a few little things. In Kundalini Hatha Yoga, the equivalent is the Mahakumbhaka practice, which condenses initiations into hundreds of enlightened deities and dakinis. It condenses chakra, power, awakening, cleansing, purification, harmonizing, 5-element purification, harmonizing, powering. The Mahakumbhaka does it all, right? The Kundalini awakening, the movement up and down the central channel. And so if you do all the training leading up to it and you learn the Mahakumbhaka, you can do this thing now in 5, 10, 15 minutes. And the entire Kundalini Hatha Yoga system is there in Mahakumbhaka. That's the power of it, if you really understand it. Those people who did the 1-year training with me, you know what I mean. Now, the same is for a few of the systems of Taoist yoga or Taoist Qigong, which interested me, I think, because I like these self-contained, easy to perform, all-in-one systems. Swimming Dragon is one of them. So if especially you're listening to this and you're practicing the Taoist meditation retreat with us, and you found Kundalini Hatha Yoga to be too difficult for your body because you're too old, or you have arthritis or joints problems or this or that, then swimming dragon really is good for you as an adjunct to your meditation practice. So in the swimming dragon, I love it because it exercises all three energy centers and the different type of energy in them. But what it does is it first accumulates that energy into a purified form, and then it circulates it through the three centers and through your whole body by doing a whole body movement. There's one whole body movement that's done with your body, your arms, your legs, your torso, everything's involved. And you do repetitions of that. You start out with maybe 8 a day for a while, for a week, and then maybe you try to do 16 for another 2 weeks. And okay, after that, maybe you go to 32. Eventually you want to do 108 repetitions of this complex movement. I must say, actually, in the beginning, you'll find it complex, but you'll get it over time. And when you get it properly, timed and coordinated with the breath and with the proper inner disposition. I talked about how Takeshi left me in the barn for an hour the first day to get into the proper vibe. You got to be in the proper vibe to do it, to gain the benefit. Right away, that's a different chi signature. It's a different chi imprint. If you do it when you're in the wrong vibe, you accumulate the wrong energy. So you got to be in the right vibe, which is that connection to heaven and earth, which we do with the standing dragon first. And the other practices I just mentioned will purify you first before you start. And then you accumulate the energy, and then you circulate it, and then you sit after and meditate with the energy. Okay. So we are going to experience this swimming dragon as the main part of this 2-day Daoist energy cultivation of movement practice weekend together. Okay. So that's a simple description of it. And now we'll go to the questions if there are any to help explicate it more. Wow, there's a lot of you here. So many people online right now. Okay. Chat box. Okay, here we go. Yes, we are. I don't know what that was referring to, but thank you, Simone. Why is it called dragon? Is the position. It's called swimming dragon, the same reason that the Kung Fu system I teach is called swimming dragon. Because not that it, well, let me try to back this up. The dragon is the superior energy of the celestial regions in China, right? In Chinese mythology, dragon is the summation of everything spiritual. So like when we talk about stage 12 in the view that we have, stage 1 through 12 of spiritual development, when you get to 12, they call it like the dragon fruition. You're a dragon, right? You've become a dragon. You had that dragon energy. Now, symbolically, when that energy moves into this world, the dragon energy of spiritual life, it's not rigid. It's not a box shape, you know, it's very fluid and wave like, just like the chi that permeates the universe. The same as all of the energy that we have in the universe, that it doesn't travel in straight lines. It may appear to travel in straight lines, but by the time gravity acts on, you know, all the celestial bodies act on whatever energy is traveling through the universe, including light, it bends it. So everything is curved. So the idea with moving like a dragon in the Kung Fu that we do is to generate a certain energy, a certain power that comes from unifying yourself with the natural movement of energy in the universe, which is this beautiful pulsating energy I'm imitating with my hand here. But in Kung Fu, we use that all through the hand, just very rapidly. It comes up through the floor and from the heavens through the body. And then instantly we generate that energy. It's called dragon energy. And dragon style Kung Fu that I teach teaches you how to use that. In the swimming dragon, it's called dragon because you're again using that pulsating energy of drawing energy from the earth and the heavens through the body's pulsation. That's like attracting it and drawing it into the body energy mind complex. That's why it's called dragon. And people say, well, that's how a dragon looks. It moves like that. Well, yeah, but that's the after idea. It's that there is this celestial and terrestrial energy that moves in waves sinuously. Do you know that word, Suka? Sinuously, a sinus wave like trigonometry. Oh, don't make me remember trigonometry. Oh, I hated it. No good at it. But the sinus wave I can do through the body and the energy. I can't do it on math on the paper. So that's why it's called dragon. Okay, Carol? Where is Carol? I don't know which Carol that is, but I hope Carol got her answer. So, Luciana Dow, are we, you have the name Dow. Maybe you're supposed to do Taoism. Are we going to do any practice today to feel a little of this beautiful wisdom? I'm sorry, we're not going to do any practice today. Purely question answer about whether you want to meet to do practice today in the future. Okay. Kanti Sano Tiago. What made you decide to teach Taoist practices after all these years of training? First question. Let's handle that. It was because I'm getting older and I'm starting to realize if I die, it's kind of a waste to lose these things. So I'm actually going back into teaching martial arts as well. It's part time for sure. We just took the lease on the barn next to our house, and my son and I are outfitting it now to become our little martial arts school. Well, not so little; it's pretty big. It's bigger than any martial arts school I ever owned, actually. It's a big barn. So that's going to be our martial arts school, and I'm doing it because I don't think this knowledge should be lost. And I think what I've seen around it is that there's very few people teaching at a very high level. So I want to contribute to helping preserve it by going back to teaching it. That's the martial arts. But the Taoist alchemy, the Taoist practices of meditation, the understanding of the text like Tao Te Ching, Zhou Chuangzi, the meditation practices and the chi cultivation practices, I also want to teach because it would be a shame to lose them. They're very precious. And just like all the great Dzogchen masters would tell you, Namkha Norbu being the main person who used to speak like this, who had the courage to speak like this as a Tibetan, would say that if you're using anything and it's helping you move into the natural state is what Dzogchen is, then that is Dzogchen. And you don't want to mix it as far as creating a new like methodology that mixes it all together into one. That's not what you want to do. But you can use any so-called auxiliary training. If it moves you right into natural presence, it shouldn't even be considered auxiliary. It should be considered this Dzogchen, which is the highest meditation practice you can get in Tibet, right? Which we teach in TMY. So going on that, I felt the same way that if Taoist practices that I've used have brought me such amazing results, which they have, it would almost be unfair not to make them available to you to see what it can do for you too, if you're drawn to them. There's a thing about doing too many and it just dilutes you, right? That's not good. You do too many practices, it dilutes you and your results. But also there is this understanding that the right thing at the right time could really just make it all fall in place for you, like it did for me. It did for me for sure, many, many times with Taoist practice, because I wasn't practicing like the depth of Kundalini Hatha Yoga when I was young. I started learning Hatha Yoga at 7, and the teacher who was teaching it had this understanding, but I was 7. I didn't understand. So I just practiced. And then as I got into my teenage years, I started realizing, oh, this yoga's got something to it. And I kept doing the same practice, but I was getting more profound energetic results. I didn't have a teacher to take me, a guru, to go into the higher levels yet. I was still doing the same practice I got at 7 years old. But it was in those teenage years where I started to meet Taoist masters in Chinatown, New York. Actually, one of my best friends, Richard Lowe, and his sister, Elaine Lolian, who I ended up dating, they were from a Taoist family. And their uncle was a Taoist white crane, the bird, white crane, kung fu master. Their uncle would come and visit from Rochester, New York, and we'd see him training in the backyard, jumping 6 feet in the air, kicking 60-year-old man. And I was like, that's got something. I got to check that out. Then he would be moving, doing Qigong, just breathing and moving in these ways that made him look like a drunk person. And then he would meditate. And I was like, hey, this is cool. But by that time, I had already been going into New York City's Chinatown, practicing martial arts and learning. So a lot of my teenage years and in my 20s, up until my tantric initiation, I didn't even know what tantra was. Tantra wasn't like now where you read about it and it's like this sex weekend thing. We didn't even have that. That's crap. That's not tantra, but we didn't even have that. We didn't even know what the word tantra meant. I never heard of it until 1987. And so I was 25 already. So from 13 to 25, it was all Taoist practice and Kung Fu and regular yoga, regular old yoga. I didn't know the deeper teachings of yoga yet. Then I met my tantric master, excuse me, at 25. And then that took, me down a rabbit hole into tantric yoga that you all know I took, which went into Tibet as well. But the Taoism continued with me because it was just sort of part of who I was at that time. I mean, I love it. It was more like brushing your teeth. So I just kept doing a lot of it. But anyway, I decided to teach it because I saw that a lot of my early foundation was set up by Taoist practice. And I thought a lot of people could benefit from this. So I'm going to make it available. You decide how much karma you have to feel. How much karma do I have with Taoism, Taoist practice? How much with Indian, with Tibetan, with all the things we offer in TMY, Trika Mahasiddha Yoga? Remember, don't ever forget the goal is to make yourself a Mahasiddha. If you got to take a bit of Taoism, a bit of Bun, a bit of Dzogchen, a bit to do it, that's what they all did. That's what they all did. My attempt with Trika Mahasiddha Yoga, which is hosting this Taoist training, so it has relevancy here, is to tell you that I didn't want you to have to run around the world and check with every other teacher to try to get some Taoism, some Vajrayana, some Bun, some Shaivism, some Dzogchen, the 5 things that contribute to our system. And all my great masters said, you should keep them under one roof. That's good. Just keep them as separate vidyas, separate systems of knowledge within the one Mahasiddha grouping. And I did that. And I keep it very clearly separate like that. And we keep it at a very high quality level. And that's really important to know because I wanted them to be all available and at the highest quality and not create some new age thing where it's all mixed up and it becomes diluted and has no power. So the Taoism we're teaching is part of that understanding of the pedagogy of the school this way, you see? Okay. That's why I'm teaching now. We shouldn't lose it, and it's good for a lot of students. Uh, is Iron Body practices related to Taoist alchemy? They are from the perspective of martial arts, right? So the martial artists who were Taoists would practice Iron Body. Even Buddhist martial artists would have their own form of Iron Body, but the Taoists have their form. And it's related to alchemy. It's not directly related the way Mantak Chia tries to get you to think it is. It's really for martial arts. But it was very difficult to separate Chinese martial arts and the ability to fight well and be a guard on a caravan or something going through the desert from spiritual practice and from health cultivation. It's very hard to separate them. Like when I went to study with George Shu, a really great Taoist practitioner in San Francisco, I moved up from Australia to San Francisco to be with him and to study Ayurveda with Dr. Lad in 1996 or 7. And George said to me the very first meeting, I said, Shifu Shu, I've wanted to practice with you my whole life. I know about you and I'd never had the opportunity, but my teacher, my spiritual master told me to move to San Francisco. So here I am. So now I want to train with you. Please help me, And he said, okay, I can teach you. You want your Kung Fu to help you spiritually? Or you want your Kung Fu to make you healthy and live long? Or you want your Kung Fu to learn how to kill people quickly? This guy was no fooling around. And I said, do I have to choose? Like I liked it all. I like it all. He goes, okay, we teach it all. Later on, I got to know him better a month later. And I said, we started practicing at his house instead of the park. When you get to know people, you get to their house, right? And I said, Shifu, why did you ask me that question earlier on about the 3 different ways we could do to Kung Fu? He said, oh, we can tailor it for each one. No reason to do Iron Body. No reason to develop a hand that can smash bricks. No reason to do sparring and fighting if you want health or spiritual cultivation. We have Kung Fu. You practice the same Kung Fu, but you don't do those exercises for conditioning the body. You don't do the 2-man practice forms that teach you how to start using it for fighting. And you don't do the free sparring. You don't do any of that. You spend all that time on breathing and meditating and moving with the kung fu in the ways that circulate the chi. So it's hard to separate them. Okay. I just want to say that long answer for that, but it is related, right? And we do that practice. Actually, if you want to learn one of those practices, I'm teaching it in, oddly enough, the healer 2-day training that is kind of a partner to this training. The training for the healers, I'm teaching some Taoist practice. And in there, I'm going to teach Wu Mei Qigong and also a Norwegian Viking practice of iron body. So there you go. All right, now back to this. Do you intend to offer a complete curriculum for those who intend to learn complete? Yes. My wife and I have finally decided it is time to offer a complete Taoist way, offering retreats in Taoism, and that'll make me very happy to see it flourish. So yes, and in fact, I'm going to go. How many days we leave? 2 days? Yeah. In 2 days or 3 days, we leave to go down to New York to see some of my Taoist teachers and to see a famous Tibetan tulku to check in with my teachers. So yeah, we're back in the Taoism. How Taoist practice relates to the warrior path. Uh, Taoism and warriorship, they went together forever. So when we teach Way of the Warrior in Chikkamauga Yoga, we will be drawing on Taoist material for sure. So be ready for that, no doubt. I'm going to teach, I started to teach Dragon Style Kung Fu, which is a very beautiful. You'll be able to hear the last thing. Okay, so the internet was unstable. So I decided to teach Dragon Style Kung Fu again. First, I was going to teach it just to my family, to my son, because I couldn't find worthy students. I found one in Australia, and he's fantastic. And he's gotten to a higher level than me in the system. So I'm so proud of him. Um, but I was going to close it down because I haven't been able to find really worthy students. But now that we're opening up a Way of Warrior and Trikamma City Yoga, the idea has been on my mind. Do I want to teach the full systems of Taoist Kung Fu that I learned? I learned a few of them, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to. So yes, I'm going to teach full systems of Taoist Kung Fu in the Way of Warrior method for those who want it, as well as full systems of Taoist um, Qigong that looks like Kung Fu, long forms, 8 sets of about 50 movements, about 400 movements total in this one set that can really make you live long and give tremendous cities. I'm going to teach that. That's a secret method. It sounds corny, but true. And I'm going to teach that to those students in the way. Laura, how can this practice benefit those who want to be healers? Because it's energy practice and it makes you more powerful. So in general, any martial training is great. Any qigong training from Chinese Taoism that really is powerful like this and it's taught well and learned well will make you a better healer. Simone, can this practice change the way we live, our thoughts? That's a great question, Simone. I'm really liking your question. That is good. Oh no, it's Flora. Sorry. Okay. So it's for Simone. So Simone, I love that question. That is like, whew, now you're speaking my language because yes, it definitely can. When you move in a Taoist way, when you take on a Taoist way of being, same way you take on a yoga practice like Kundalini Hatha Yoga and you let it infuse your whole life, it takes over your mind, your perception of the world, how you see and interact with other beings in the world, therefore your feelings. And Taoism has a certain flavor to it. It's got its own energy. It's enlightenment, the same as Shaivist alchemy or Buddhist alchemy or Bumpo alchemy. It's enlightenment, but it has its own feeling. It has its own chi signature, no doubt. And I really think that was crucial. The fate that I had to come to Taoism in a deep way before I get into the fiery practice of Kundalini Hatha Yoga was very important for me because Taoism is based on water element. Taoism, all of Taoism is based on the water element. Of course, it knows all the elements, it uses them all, but it's based on water. And I was such a fiery, pit ahead kid, like, oh my God, I was a maniac. What I am now was like 10 times worse when I was a kid. had so much energy and did so much wild practices and so much fire. Fire just came out of my eyeballs, you know. To start off with the water element was just so lovely and so right for me and so perfect. It created what we call in internal alchemy steaming. We want the right combination of fire and water in internal alchemy to create the steam, the sublimated energy of the water and the heat together, which is then the symbol as it condenses on the bowl, yeah, and forms drops by cooling with spiritual virtue and drops back down. These drops that come back down are the elixir of immortality, which then go down and plant here and plant here and plant in my pelvis. What do you mean plant? They're seeds. And these areas in Chinese are called dantian. Dantian. Dantian literally means elixir field. Literally, the word and character, the Hanzi, the Chinese character for field, right, Joanna? So the seed comes down and falls in plants in the field. And that then nourishes and grows the energy of that field, these three Dantians. I'm very Chinese. I have a billion lives from China. I get Chinese stuff better than Chinese people do. I say that with no shame. So yes, when you take on this Taoist way of being based on water and you plant these seeds continually, it starts to change the way you think, the way you feel. And I was introduced to the Tao Te Ching at a very young age as well. So I'm reading the Tao Te Ching from the time I'm 13. I start getting instruction in it from a master at 18. I'm doing the meditations like I'm leading now online for all of you, but we're using my latest Taoist master's interpretation, Lu Ming. But yes, everything will change for you. Your thoughts, your way of being. I think it's a fantastic adjunct to a fire practice or a wind practice or earth practice. Did I leave any out? Yeah, fire, earth, wind. Okay. What line of Qigong you recommend to practice energy for healing for someone that don't have access to you to look for? Okay. Why you don't have access to me? I'm coming to Brazil. Are you from Brazil, Carol? What's happening? Come on. Come on out. You have access. That's why I'm coming all the way down there. It's hard for me to travel. Come and see me. What line do I recommend? Look, I'd have to know what's in Brazil near you. I know Brazilians are going to be angry at me for saying this, but I've got to be truthful. A lot of the esoteric stuff comes to Brazil, and the teachers are kind of half baked. I'm sorry, I had to say it. Meaning they learn Qigong in Hong Kong for a few weeks or a month or two or a year, and they go back and they teach it in Brazil like a master. Maestre. Everybody's maestre. Immediately you're maestre. Really? Maestro, maestre. Really? No, not really. And I've met a lot of Brazilians. I've seen a lot of Brazilian work like this, from yoga to Daoist stuff. I mean, when I first met Daoist in Rio de Janeiro, Rio, I was down in Rio, and people came up to me and said, "Oh, we're Daoist. We're initiated Daoists." So I said, "Oh, fantastic." I thought I met peers. Started talking about the text. They didn't know what I was talking about. Started talking about the practices, the higher level meditations, the view. They didn't know what I was talking about. Started talking about the rituals. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. We started talking about that's not, no, they didn't know what I was talking about. So basically, they had no idea of the real Taoism at all. And they're doing some Kung Fu, Qigong, and crappy meditation, calling it Taoism. You know, you can get away with that, but it's not really full system Taoism. It's not authentic. It doesn't come from a good line. So, Carol, there may be fantastically realized masters of Taoism in Brazil. Of course, there may be that I haven't met. But if I haven't met them, good luck finding them. You'll have to have some karma to go around the country and try to find one. I haven't seen them. I'm going to be quite honest. I just haven't seen them. A lot of Kung Fu people claiming to be Taoist masters in Brazil. And I think you should all know something. We're doing these Taoist practices with the Taoist meditation. You need to know this. Taoism is not Kung Fu. It's so important to understand. Taoism is not Kung Fu. It's a religion. It's a spiritualized religion, an organized spiritual path. And it underwent many organizations and revisions in its many thousands of years of history. And it's something that is very powerful and beautiful. It's an alchemy of enlightenment. And there are 3 ways to practice it that I talked about in the meditation classes. So we won't go into it again. And there's one that summarizes all 3. I do the one that summarizes all 3. So all I can say, Carol, is, you seem very sincere. Good luck finding that teacher. I do come to Brazil. All I can say is I'd love to teach you. Let's see what comes up. But good luck finding somebody. If someone else is there, please let everybody know if there's a real qualified, authentic master. But the problem is the student doesn't often know. It's very difficult for a student to tell who's a real teacher and who isn't. It's happening in the yoga tantra world like crazy, but it's happening in Taoism too. So good luck. Okay. I mean that in the best way. Good luck. Sylvia, will these courses also be offered another time or in France, as I can't make it in November to Prague? Yes, these courses will be continually offered in Brazil and Europe as long as people are still interested. I mean, if someone doesn't come, but as soon as my wife and I sell our center in Costa Rica, we're purchasing an Italian center. I've already found the place, and now we're just waiting on the money. And that will be our European base. And over the next 10 years, I plan to put dark retreat huts there. Yes, Daoists do dark retreat as well. Dark retreat huts for the Daoist and for the Indian Tibetan yogins in my school. I want to put a large teaching room, ritual room, physical training area. It's all going to be there as soon as it sells. So any day now. These specific practices we're describing here today are going to be offered in Rotterdam in spring of 2026. It has been scheduled for. Sorry if that seems a long time from now, but yeah, the full 2-year schedule has just been finalized. My wife spent tons of life force energy and stress putting it together for the last few months, and it's out. It's a 2-year schedule. Sorry, and it will be out next month. It'll be up online on the website. We'll send out the emails, and I'll tell everybody about it on Facebook as well. Okay. Okay. So yes, continually offered. How do we know, Ingrid? How do we know if we're in the right vibe, connecting with heaven and earth? You'll know because I'll tell you. No, you'll know because you will know with the feeling. It has a certain feeling to it. So when Tokushi, my first really powerful Taoist teacher of these kind of practices, came back in his barn and told me, yes, now we can learn. You're in that right vibe. This is the feeling you need to have. That's how I made the connection to that feeling. So the teacher walks in to your meditation room, feels you're in that vibe, and says, you got it. Now we can go. They feel it. You then say, okay, I remember what this feels like. I need to get that before I practice each time. And then you know. You said your teacher showed you this, but are you going to teach you what the signs are to indicate this? Yeah, it's basically like I just said. It's a certain feeling. And if I describe it with my words, those words that describe those qualities may have a slightly different feeling tone for you. And then I would be directing you in the wrong direction. So I don't want to use any qualitative words like powerful, peaceful, harmonious, erratic, fiery, watery. I don't want to use any of that. None of it. I just want to teach you how to stand and how to connect to heaven and earth the way he taught me, and then leave you. And then you'll feel it or not. You'll get it, I'm sure. Will we improve our practice over time, be able to figure it out on our own at some point? Well, this is another part of the complete reorganization of the school that's coming out with the new 2-year schedule, is that we're going to have cohorts. I am going to meet online every month with people from the 5 ways, the Taoist one. All these people are going to have a contact point every month. And we are going to do physical practice over the internet, check the practices and so forth. So not only are we going to be meeting in person with this great schedule that Sahaj has made, but we're also going to have finally a way for each person at each level of the 5 ways and the Taoism, etc., to meet with me. Also, we're going to have a health, fitness, and bodybuilding one on there. Nutrition, health, fitness, and bodybuilding, because there's a lot of people that want to know how to get their body healthier and stronger. and I get too many questions. I can't do it all. I'm going to take videos of me in the gym. I'm going to show you my supplements. I'm going to cook meals and show you that, everything. So these cohorts, we're calling them, are going to be available through Kajabi. Our website is on Kajabi. We want to get off of Facebook. We want to get off of all this other stuff. And we want to make a living, breathing Mahasiddha community through the website. It'll have chat places where chats can go, where you can discuss with each other and share your knowledge with each other. It'll have the cohorts available, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So get ready. It's going to be great. I sound like Trump. Just because I watched the debate the other night. It's going to be huge. Wait, what does he do? It's going to be huge, huge. It's got weird hand gestures and mouth things. But he killed the other guy in the debate, amazingly. Okay, well, not so amazing. The other guy's 90,000 years old and sick. Okay, next one from, I don't know how to say your name, but Neja. I like it. Is it Neja? 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 I like that name. How similar are these practices to Montaukchia's? Oh, no. You said the name that should never be mentioned. How do you wisely combine different traditions in sadhana without mixing them up inefficiently? Thank you for that question. That is an awesome question. I wish more students asked me that. I'm very curious to deepen Taoism, but I hesitate if I have time resources to practice all that I've already been initiated into. That is a fantastic question. I really appreciate that, Neja. Let's do the second one first. How do you wisely combine? If you have the proper view training in Mahasiddha view, so I don't know what you practice. You're not my student, so. But in our tradition, the 12-stage view teaching is what holds together every system we have. Taoism has it, Shaivism has it, Dzogchen has it. They all have this understanding of this view that's identical. That's why all these systems produced Mahasiddhas, beings of rainbow light, right? So it's not combining them where I would take yoga and mix it like a yoga practice mixed with Tai Chi and dance and warrior stuff. There's a guy who did that. What's his name? I forget, but he created something called shadow yoga, and he created this other practice of yoga. So he stuck Tai Chi in it, Shaolin Kung Fu in it, Qigong, and dance, and made this what I would consider to be a useless system of yoga. And I hate to say that. I don't mean to be mean to the guy, but I don't think that is really good. I think what you do is you take yoga and you make it better if you can, if you're a Mahasiddha. You make Qigong and you make it better. You don't try to mix it and make a mush mush. It comes out like minestrone soup that doesn't taste good, like bad mixture, So that's how we do it. We keep it separate. And my great masters, the supreme ruler of the Bumpos, 33rd memory treason, and the 34th also both have given great blessings to our school to do that, to teach all the Bumpo things I learn and keep them clear, just like that. Dzogchen, the highest teaching of Bun like that. My Shaivist teacher did the same. My Taoist teachers, for them, it wasn't even a consideration. They're like, whatever, because Taoists are really different. So that's how we keep it good. Okay. It's how we keep it clear, authentic, and efficient and powerful. How do you efficiently combine them based on your time? You have to figure it out for yourself, but they can be done. And what I would do is select the ones that seem to be the ones that could really fill gaps in what your training is. Like if you're really into Tibetan Tantra, you may want to do some kind of Qigong that moves in a certain way. If you're really into Shaivist meditation, you may want to do something like that as well, like this kind of thing. Or if you're really into, like, say, really powerful Kundalini Hatha yoga and it's very dynamic and you're a martial artist or whatever, then you may want to do the non-conceptual meditation of Taoism. That would be a great counterpoint with water element compared to that. Montauk, we both grew up in New York after he left Thailand. I know the guy. I've had run-ins with the guy. He wrote 2 good books. They're really basic, but they're good. And after that, I would never touch his stuff or learn anything from him except Chine Tsang, the healing massage in the abdomen. He's very good at. His first 2 books, teaching how to open up the microcosmic orbit in you that we do in Kriya Yoga, that's good. That's authentic. That was his best training, I think. And the next one was something about, cultivating male and female sexual energy. Super simple book. There's some things that are wrong in it for sure, like pressing on the perineum to stop a man from ejaculating. That is a terrible physical practice to do. Ruins your health for men. Don't do it. But in general, the theory of it is okay. After that, I got to say it straight up. He stole a bunch of stuff from a tantric guru of mine and tried to make it into Taoism, didn't understand it, and just got caught up in the money. So I don't deal with him anymore. I had a personal run in him with, which was very bad when we were on one of our retreats in New York. So the guy's a maniac. So no, done with him. Flora, I froze. Sorry about that. Lost connection. Beautiful bee dragon. Sitka City, beautiful bee dragon. Okay. Don't know what you meant there, dear. Simone, translated. Is that obrigada precisa dessa mudança? 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 Change. Okay. Fantastic. Carol's got a big one there in Brazilian. Oh, I guess people are leaving. Okay. Entendi. Understand? Does that understand? Okay. Flora is giving body of light healer. Thank you, Flora. Flora's putting all the stuff up that people need to get on the groups. Way to go. Neja, thank you. I have done the foundations and preliminaries and am doing puja course with. Oh, I see. You're one of us. Okay. Sorry about that. It is similar to what I am initiated into with my guru. Oh, no, you have a guru as well. Okay, never mind. And you pronounce my name very well. French pronunciation. Okay. Lovely. Okay, keep going and make it work. You can do it. And that's it. Okay, that's all the questions. So nobody has any more questions, then we shall say goodbye. I'll give you 1 second to get another one in case. Looks like one just flew in. Bruna, all that you said about work with alternative therapy and drain your energy when you're not strong and grounded make a lot of sense to me. Good. I can feel it. It's always good to hear you, Guruji. I'm really interested to do this short retreat with you. Talk to Sukha later. Okay. No, my pleasure to share with you. Wonderful. All right. So everybody enjoy your life until I see you next. Be full of love and spread that out. Happiness to everybody. Make the best of everything and roll with the punches when it doesn't go your way. Love and blessings.